Abba Father, Yahuwah, I come before you sincerely. I praise and worship your Kodesh name, and I love you so dearly. Father, you're everything I'll ever need. You entered my heart and planted your seed. Now you grow in me and fill me up completely. You gave me ears to hear and eyes to see. Abba Father, Yahuwah, I lift my hands up to your throne. You are the one that I adore. I worship you and you alone. I know the world can't see, it's very hard for me to live in a place of strife and controversy. But you take me by the hand, raise me up to stand. I honor you, Father, completely. Abba Father, Yahuwah, I come before you sincerely. I praise and worship your Kodesh name, and I love you so dearly. I praise your name, oh Yahweh. Shalom, Havarim. Boy, they'll just let anybody sing on this channel, won't they? Oh, well, it's good to see all of you in here. There's several that I didn't get to chat with before I left the chat. I have to come up here and take care of this stuff. Blossom, it's good to see you in there. Eric Rangel, it's good to see you in there. Eric says, Ken, this must have been fun mixing together. It was work, and it was fun. Candace CFCL, oh, she's having a late dinner, so won't be able to do much chatting. Oh, well, you know, you have to eat, but you have to also eat spiritually, so you must be listening while you're eating, all right? Lauren Rodriguez, good to have you in here. And David Shearer came in just before I left the chat. And let's see if I've missed anybody. Lena Butler, good to see you in here, sis. Roberto Bonanno asked me, if I spoke any of the Philippine languages. Opo, fluent ako sa Tagalog po. Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, I'm getting behind in the chat. Things are moving along. You guys are chatting fast tonight. Camellia, good to see you in there, sister. Shorty Medina, shalom, sister. I love you so much. Praise Yahweh. And Michael Stroud, it's good to have you there also. And Cherie, good to see you, Cherie. So anyway, well, I could stay in the chat all night. You know how much I love to chat anyway, and I'm just a chatterbox. So as you well know, I'm thankful to be here, and I'm hopefully Alba don't get angry with me for being a chatterbox once in a while. But you never can tell. Maybe he says, hey Ken, that's enough. Talk about my word and read my word, and let's get something accomplished here. I love each and every one of you. Robert Boyd, it's good to see you in here, brother, as well. Shalom. Joanne Schultz, and good to see you, sister. Grace G, good to see you. It's good to see all of you. I tell you what, um, this is family. It's truly family. And I look forward to seeing you each week. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you that I can. And when somebody's missing, I say, I wonder where so and so was, or I wonder where this one was, or that one was. But it's just because I consider you like family. We are close knit because we are worshiping Abba Father Yahweh together. And that draws us together, not just in our hearts, not just in our minds, not just in our lives, but in our Ruach. And when we come together in that way, we truly become family. We are family of Abba Father, Yahweh, our Elohim, and Yeshua HaMashiach, our Savior. So, let's get started. I will go ahead and move to the main scene and bring up the scriptures so that everybody can see them. Okay. Now you should all be able to see the scriptures. And let's get started. I have been looking forward to this, and I have been dreading it because, I've read the end of the book, so I've been dreading some of this that we're going to read tonight. But anyway, let's just keep in mind that everything happens for a reason, and Yahweh knows beforehand everything that's going to happen. So you can see that he puts his blessings in places that we might judge and say they didn't need to be, but we don't know what's best. Yahweh, he knows what's best. And he does what's best for you and for me, for all of us. So let's go to Abba Father Yahweh in a sincere word of prayer. Abba Father, we're so thankful to you for the opportunity to be here together with family, of our friends in you, Father. And we ask that your Ruach HaKodesh would fill this chat and fellowship, fill our hearts, and that, Father, it would draw us closer to you, that we would learn more about you and be closer to you so that we will bring more esteem and honor to your Kodesh name. We're thankful for our Mishpachah. We're thankful for the opportunity to meet here together and to praise you and to chat with each other. We're thankful that you have given us the feeling of family here. And Father, sometimes our own families reject us because of the way that we believe, because we believe the truth. We believe in you, and we call you by name and know you by name. And many will ridicule us for that. But Father, I'm just thankful that you have opened our eyes, you have opened our ears, you have shown us the truth. You've planted your seed within us, and Father, we're watering it and watching it grow day by day. We long to be with you, Father, and we look forward to the return of your beloved man, Yeshua HaMashiach, to come and get his people and take them to not to New Jerusalem, to Old Jerusalem, to rule for 1,000 years. And then you'll renew everything. A new Shamaim, a new earth, a new Jerusalem. Everything will be made new. And we will be there with you during all of that. And we're praiseful and thankful to your Kodesh name. All that we pray through Yeshua HaMashiach, our beloved Savior and Messiah, and the name above all names, Yahweh, our Elohim, Yahweh, Echad. Amen, Hafarim. Amen. Oh, Camellia, good to see you in there. I might have mentioned you, but they said that your memory is the first thing to go, or is it the second thing? I forget. But anyway, let's get started reading in 1 Kings chapter 8. If you notice, if anybody saw saw that I put this up at the beginning, when did I put this up? Friday or Saturday or something. But anyway, I was reading all the way through chapter 12, but that's not possible. Some of these chapters are very long, lengthy chapters, and the story ends in a good place at the end of chapter 11. So I reduced it and cut the last chapter off. And so we'll begin reading with chapter 8, and then we'll end with chapter 11. Then Shelomo assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel, to sovereign Shelomo and Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahweh from the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled to the sovereign Shelomo at the festival in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. You know how I have been noticing the months and the names of the months, and there are a lot of the names of the months that were changed by the Hebrew people. And you hear a lot of people call them Jews, but as I've spoken to you before, out of respect, I call them all Hebrews, because all Jews are Hebrews, but not all Hebrews are Jews. So out of respect, I call them Hebrews. So I'm speaking of all of Yahweh's people. And they are still Yahweh's people. I'm just a part with them now. Been grafted in. Now, somebody say, well, that's cheating if you get grafted in. No, it's not. Not if the Father does it. He doesn't cheat. He gave that as a promise from the very beginning. But anyway, I want to study some more about this name of this month, and it may be one of the true names that is approved of by Yahweh. Otherwise, if it's not an approved name by Yahweh, I'm just going to call it month number 3 or month number 8 or month number 6, whatever. And Abba actually, touches my heart for doing that and doing what I know to be right. And things that I don't know, he doesn't hold me as much accountable for, but he does hold me accountable, because I'm supposed to pray about every little thing. Now that's the 7th month, Ethanim. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priest took up the ark, and brought up the ark of Yahweh, and the tent of meeting, and all the set-apart utensils that were in the tent. And the priests and the Levites brought them up. And sovereign Shelomo and all the congregation of Israel who had assembled with him were with him before the ark, slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that they could not be counted or numbered. And the priest brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahweh to its place, into the speaking place, that is the Kodesh of Kodesh, most Kodesh place. Excuse me, I had just a little tickle. But they call it here in the ISR the speaking place of the house, to the most set apart place, under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered over the ark and its poles. Last week, after I reviewed this, and I was talking about the Ark of the Covenant, and I was talking about these 2 cherubim, and these 2 cherubim that are inside the most Kodesh place are very, very tall, like 10 cubits. Goliath was only like 9 cubits, and that's probably around 15 to 20 feet is what it would be. But and I was talking about the cherubim that are on the ark itself, and that's not what it's referring to. It's referring to the cherubim that are in that room, and they are huge, dwarfing the ones on the Ark of the Covenant. But the ones on the Ark of the Covenant were, with astounding beauty as well. And the poles extended so that the ends of the poles were seen from the set-apart place in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from outside. And they are there to this day. To what day? To this day, it says. This day? No, the day this was written. There was naught in the ark, only the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe had put there at Horeb, where Yahweh made a covenant with the children of Israel when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be, when the priests came out of the set-apart place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahweh. We weren't talking about a cloud. What cloud? Well, just bet your sweet bottom dollar. That's not really a good thing to say, is it? Bet your sweet bottom dollar. We're not gambling here. This is not a gamble. We're trusting in Yahweh. This cloud is the cloud that went before them as he led them out of Israel. It was his Shekinah glory, and some call it Shekinah. I don't know. Alan had a thing with that too. He said something about it. So that the priests were unable to stand and perform the service because of the cloud. For the esteem of Yahweh filled the house of Yahweh. Praise Yahweh. And Shalom said, Yahweh has said, he would dwell in the dark cloud. I have indeed built you an exalted house, an established place for you to dwell in forever. And the sovereign turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, while the assembly of Israel was standing. And he said, Blessed be, and this is Baruch be Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to my father David, and with his hand has filled it, saying, Since the day I brought my people Israel out of Mitzrayim, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Israel in which to build a house for my name to be there. But I chose David to be over my people Israel. And it was in the heart of my father David to build a house for the name of Yahweh Elohim of Israel. But Yahweh said to my father David, Because it has been in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. So Yahweh recognized King David's good intention. Only you do not build the house, but your son, who is coming from your loins, he does build the house for my name. Now Yahweh has established his word, which he spoke, and I have been raised up instead of my father David, and sit on the throne of Israel, as Yahweh promised, and built a house for the name of Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, and have appointed there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahweh, which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Shalom stood before the altar of Yahweh in front of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands toward the Shamaim, and said, Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, there is no Elohim in the Shamaim, above or on earth below, like you, guarding your covenant and kindness with your servants, who walk before you with all their heart, who has guarded that which you did promise your servant David, my father. Indeed, you have both spoken with your mouth, and have filled it with your hand, as it is this day. And now, Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, guard what you promised your servant David, my father, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours before me, sitting on the throne of Israel, only if your sons guard their way to walk before me, as you have walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Israel, please let your word come true, which you have spoken to your servant David, my father. For it is true, Elohim dwells on the earth. See, the Shamayim and the Shamayim of the Shamayim are unable to contain you, how much less this house which I have built. Yet you turn to the prayer of your servant and his supplication, O Yahweh my Elohim, and listen to the cry and to the prayer which your servant is praying before you today. For your eyes to be open toward this house night and day, toward the place of which you said, My name is there, to listen to the prayer which your servant makes toward this place. Then shall you hear the supplication of your servant and of your people Yisrael when they pray toward this place, when you hear in your dwelling place in the Shamayim, and shall you hear and forgive? If anyone sins against his neighbor, and he has lifted up an oath on him to cause him to swear, and comes and swears before your altar in this house, and then in the Shamayim, and act and rightly rule your servants, declaring the wrongdoer wrong, bringing his way on his head, and declaring the righteous right by giving him according to his righteousness. When your people, Yisrael, are smitten before an enemy, because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and confess your name and pray and make supplication to you in this house, then hear in the Shamayim, and forgive the sin of your people Yisrael, and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the Shamayim are shut up, and there is no rain because they sin against you, when they pray towards this place, and confess your name, and turn from their sin, because you afflict them, then hear in the Shamayim, and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Yisrael, for you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and shall give rain on your land which you have given to your people as an inheritance. When there is scarcity of food in the land, when there is pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, grasshoppers, when their enemy distresses them in the land of their cities, any plague, any sickness, whatever prayer, whatever supplication made by any one of all your people Israel, each knowing the plague of his own heart, and shall spread out his hands toward this house. Then hear in the Shamayim, your dwelling place, and forgive, and act, and render unto everyone according to all his ways, whose heart you know, because you alone, know the hearts of all the sons of men, so that they fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Also concerning a foreigner, listen to this, concerning a foreigner who is not of your people Israel, but has come from a far land for your name's sake, since they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your outstretched arm, and shall come and pray toward this house, here in the Shamayim, in your dwelling place, and do according to all for which the foreigner calls to you, so that all peoples of the earth know your name and fear you, as do your people Yisrael, and know that this house which I have built is called by your name. When your people go out to battle against their enemy, and the way that you send them, and they shall pray to Yahweh toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then shall you hear in the Shamayim their prayer and their supplication, and maintain in their cause. When they sin against you, for there is no one who does not sin. You hear that? It's not just in the book of Romans. And you become enraged with them, and give them to the enemy, and they take them captive to the land of the enemy, far or near, and they shall turn back unto their heart in the land where they have been taken captive, and shall turn and make supplication to you in the land of those who took them captive, saying, we have sinned and acted crookedly, we have committed wrong. And they shall turn back to you with all their heart and with all their being in the land of their enemies who led them away captive, and shall pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name. Then shall you hear in the Shamayim, your dwelling place, their prayers and their supplication, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before those who took them captive, and they shall have compassion on them, for they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out of Mitzrayim, out of the iron furnace. Let your eyes be open to the supplication of your servant and the supplication of your people Israel, to listen to them whenever they call to you. For you have separated them unto yourself for an inheritance out of all the peoples of the earth, as you spoke by the hand of your servant Moshe, when you brought our fathers out of Mitzrayim, O Master Yahweh. And it came to be, when Shalom had ended praying all this prayer and supplication to Yahweh, that he rose up from before the altar of Yahweh, from kneeling on his knees, with his hands spread up to the Shamayim. Now, how are we supposed to pray? That's one way. That is one way. It's a common way. Kneeling on your knees and raising your hands toward the Shamayim. Some choose to bow their heads and prostrate themselves before Yahweh, and that is a good way to pray. But I do not cease to pray because I am lying on my back in my bed with a pillow under my head. I keep praying. Now there's times that I'll kneel down in my floor and I pray. And there are times that I raise my hands to the Shamayim and pray. But there's lots of times that I'm driving in my car and I'm praying. And I'm not just because I'm praying for safety, but I'm praying for some of you. Remember Dave, Debbie, and Kaylee, when Debbie was going through so much, Yahweh laid it on my heart to pray for her. I was on my way home from work. And I pray a lot when I'm in my car. It's just a good opportunity, a good time to talk to the Father. So, but anyway, this was Shalomo's example to others about how to pray. He knelt on his knees with his hands spread up to the Shamayim, and he spoke to Yahweh with all of his heart. And he stood and blessed all the assembly of Yisrael with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahweh, who has given rest to his people Yisrael, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good word, which he promised through his servant Moshe. Yahweh, our Elohim, is with us as he was with our fathers. He does not leave us nor forsake us. To incline our hearts to himself, to walk in all his ways, and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings, which he commanded our fathers. And let these words of mine, which I have made supplication before Yahweh, be near Yahweh our Elohim day and night, to maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Israel, the matter of each day in its day, so that all the peoples of the earth might know that Yahweh is Elohim, there is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahweh, our Elohim, to walk in his laws and guard his commands as at this day. And the sovereign and all Yisrael with him made slaughterings before Yahweh. And Shalomo brought peace offerings, which he slaughtered to Yahweh, 22,000 bulls. Listen to this. 22,000 bulls, and 120,000 sheep. Thus the sovereign and all the children of Israel dedicated the house of Yahweh. On the day the sovereign set apart the middle of the courtyard that was in front of the house of Yahweh, for there he made burnt offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of peace offerings, because the bronze altar that was before Yahweh was too small to contain the burnt offerings and the grain offerings and the fat of the peace offerings. And Shalom at that time observed the festival, and all Israel with him, a great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath to the wadi of Mitzrayim, before Yahweh our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, 14 days. And on the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the sovereign, and went to their tents rejoicing and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahweh had done for his servant David and for Israel, his people. Now that is a long chapter, 66 verses. But that's one of the reasons, and there's another long chapter as well. But that's one of the reasons that I removed one chapter, and along with the fact that Yahweh says ends this period, so it's better to go to chapter 11 only. Well, Kavarin, let me get us a sip of something to drink. David Ray, good to see you in there, brother. I didn't see you earlier. I have, once again, my disappearing cup. So if it disappears, no problems. So, it's not really disappearing. It's just looking like it's disappearing. But know that it's better than my other cup. It's better for me to use. Oh, I don't see anything, any problems going on in the chat. Actually, it looks like everything's moving right along and everybody's having a good time. Chapter 9. Give us one more sip. That was a really long chapter. I thought I was going to start breaking in between it there. And it came to be, when Shalom had finished building the house of Yahweh and the house of the sovereign, and all the desire of Shalom which he was pleased to do, that Yahweh appeared to Shalom the second time, as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. And Yahweh said to him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have set this house apart, which you have built, to put my name there forever. And my eyes and my heart shall always be there. And if you walk before me as your father David walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness to do all that I have commanded you, if you guard my laws and my right rulings, then I shall establish the throne of your reign over Israel forever, as I promised David your father, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Israel. When Yeshua returns, there still will not cease to be a man of David's on the throne, because Yeshua is a direct descendant of King David. If you at all turn back, you or your sons, from following me, and do not guard my commands, my laws, his loving instructions, which I have set before you, but shall go and serve other mighty ones and bow yourselves to them, then I shall cut off Israel from the face of the soil which I have given them, and send away from my presence this house which I have set apart for my name. And Israel shall be a proverb and a mockery among all the peoples. And this house which has been exalted, everyone who passes by it shall be astonished and hiss and say, why has Yahweh done thus to this land and to this house?
Then they shall say, because they have forsaken Yahweh their Elohim, who brought their fathers out of the land of Mitzrayim, and they have embraced other mighty ones, and bowed themselves to them, and served them. That is why Yahweh has brought all this evil upon them. And that is so true. And that was so said. And it came to be at the end of 20 years that Shalom had built the two houses, the house of Yahweh and the house of the sovereign. Hiram, the sovereign of Sor, had supplied Shalom with cedar and cypress and gold as much as he desired. Then sovereign Shalom gave Hiram 20 cities and the land of Galil. And Hiram came from Sor to see the cities which Shalom had given him, but they were not right in his eyes. He didn't like them. And he said, What are these cities you have given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kavul, as they are to this day. And Hiram sent the sovereign 120 talents of gold. And this is the purpose of the compulsory labor which sovereign Shalom raised, to build the house of Yahweh, and his own house, and Millo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Chatzor, and Megiddo, and Gezer. Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, had gone up and taken Gezer, and burned it with fire, and had slain the Canaanites who dwelt in the city, and had given it as a payment for the bride to his daughter, Shalom's wife. And Shalom built Gezer, and lower Beth Horon, and Baalath and Tamar in the wilderness and the land of Yehudah, and all these storage cities that Shalom had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his cavalry, and whatever Shalom desired to build in Jerusalem, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his rule, all the peoples who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the children of Israel, their descendants who were left in the land after them, whom the children of Israel had not been able to destroy completely. From these Shalom raised compulsory labor, as it is to this day. To which day? To the day this was written. I just want to make sure I always say that so that you understand it's not meaning to this day in which I am speaking to you. It was the day in which that was written. But Shalom did not make slaves of the children of Israel, because they were men of battle, and his servants, and his rulers, and his officers, and his commanders of his chariots, and his cavalry. These were the chiefs of the officials who were over the work of Shalom, 550 who ruled over the people, who did the work. But the daughter of Pharaoh came up from the city of David to her house that he built for her. Then he built Millo. Can anybody tell me, if you know, that was what Shalom did by taking the taking the daughter of Pharaoh as a wife, if that was pleasing to Yahweh or not? We'll read further. And 3 times a year Shalom brought burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar which he had built for Yahweh, and he burned incense with that which was before Yahweh, thus gave completeness to the house. And sovereign Shalom built a fleet of ships at Etzion Geber, which is near Aloth, on the shore of the Sea of Reeds in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent his servants with the fleet, seamen who knew the sea, to work with the servants of Shalom. And they went to Ophir, and took 420 talents of gold from there, and brought it to sovereign Shalom. That's a lot of gold. Very, very much gold. And Nobody's ever seen riches like was seen by Shalomo. Okay, chapter 10. I'll get another sip. Havarim. Okay. Uh, Monkey Girl says, not good, Ken. No, it's not good. It wasn't good. And Yahweh didn't say anything. He'd already said something, though, hadn't he? He'd already said, don't do this. And Shalomo did it. That was maybe his first mistake. Okay, chapter 10. And the sovereigness of Shiva heard of the report of Shalomo concerning the name of Yahweh, and came to try him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great company, with camels that bore spices, very much gold, and precious stones. And she came to Shalomo, and she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. And Shalomo answered all her questions. There was no matter hidden for the sovereign that he did not make known to her. And the sovereignness of Shiva saw all the wisdom of Shalomo, and the house that he had built, and the food on his table, and the seating of his servants, and the service of his waiters, and their attire, and his cupbearers, and his burnt offerings which he offered in the house of Yahweh. And there was no more spirit in her. It just took her out. Then she said to the sovereign, the word I heard in my own land about you, about your words and your wisdom, was true, but I did not believe the words until I came and saw with my own eyes, and see, I have not been told the half. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the report which I heard. Oh, the Ruach just came all over me. That's because he was walking, he had been walking in respect and honor to Yahweh. Baruch are your men, and Baruch are these your servants, who stand continually before you, who are hearing your wisdom. Baruch be Yahweh your Elohim, who delighted in you, to put you on the throne of Yisrael, because Yahweh has loved Yisrael forever. Therefore he made you sovereign. To do right ruling and righteousness. And she gave the sovereign 120 talents of gold, and very many spices and precious stones. Never again did so many spices come as the sovereignness of Shiva gave to sovereign Shalomo. And also the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought almug wood, a great many, and precious stones from Ophir. And the sovereign made steps of the almug wood for the house of Yahweh, and for the sovereign's house, also lyres and harps for singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. And sovereign, I would like to find out what that almug wood is. I don't know if there is any anymore. And sovereign Shalomo gave the sovereigness of Shiva all that she desired, whatever she asked, besides what he gave her according to the hand of sovereign Shalomo. And she turned and went to her land, she and her servants. And the weight of the gold that came to Shalomo yearly was 666 talents of gold. Okay, wait. Before anybody goes and jumps the gun and says 666, no, don't go there. It's not worth it. And it doesn't mean anything besides just being 666 talents of gold. If it does mean something different, Yah will say when we get to the Shamaim, hey, you know this 666 talents of gold? Okay, it stood for this. And then we'll say, great. We try to figure too many things out, don't we? Besides that, from men of travel, and the profit from traders, and from all the sovereigns of Aravia, and from all the governors of the land, and sovereign Shalom made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 pieces of gold went into each shield, and 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield, and the sovereign put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. I don't know how my mouse has got a habit of getting a little bit further away. And the sovereign made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with refined gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round at the back, and there were armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the armrest, and 12 lions were standing there, one on each side of the 6 steps. The like of it was never made in any reign. And all the drinking vessels of sovereign Shalom were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of refined gold, not of silver, for this was reckoned of little value in the days of Shalom. He made silver as common as, what was it? I'm trying to remember. It was on the tip of my tongue. He made it as common as stones. Yeah. Silver was as common as stones, so he didn't want silver cups. He could have had stone cups instead, really. For the sovereign had ships of Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years the ships of Tarshish came, bringing gold and silver, ivory, and apes and baboons. Some of those became rulers, I think, later on. Just kidding. And sovereign Shalom was greater than any of the sovereigns of the earth in riches and wisdom. And all the earth sought the presence of Shalom, to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. This thing jumped with me, didn't it? That's okay. It didn't jump far. And they were each bringing his present, objects of silver, and objects of gold, and garments, and armor, and spices, horses and mules, the matter of a year by year. And Shalom gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots, and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities, and with the sovereign in Jerusalem. And the sovereign made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones. I knew stones. And he made cedars as plenty as the sycamores which are in the low country. And Shalom had horses brought out from Mitzrayim and Quay. Okay, the sovereign's merchants brought them in Quay at a price. And his chariot came up and went out of from Mitzrayim for 600 pieces of silver, and a horse 150. And so by their hand they brought them out to all the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of Aram. I guess they were selling them to the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of Aram. Now, I have a bit to say, and I want to say it here, and I want you all to understand and to get this. Wisdom like this has never been seen before or after King Solomon, if you will. This wisdom was given by Yahweh. But in spite of this, Solomon's choice of many women of heathen nations that Yahweh had forewarned would be a snare, certainly became a snare that stole the love of Shalom for Yahweh. That's why this next chapter is very hard for me to read, seeing how a man went from such honor, went from such luxury, And of course, he was still wealthy, but he lost everything. He lost everything that was important. Chapter 11. I'll get a sip. Oh, Hallelujah. I might cry tonight. I cried when I was reading this before. I've cried times before when I read it because it just rips my heart open. Everything's still going well in the chat. Everything seems to be. So sad. So sad. Yes, it's so sad. So sad. The wisest man in the world turns his back on Yahweh, our Elohim. Chapter 11. And sovereign Shalom loved many foreign women, in addition to the daughter of Pharaoh. She was just the first. Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations of whom Yahweh had said to the children of Israel, you do not go into them, and they do not go into you, for they shall certainly turn away your hearts after their mighty ones. Shalomo clung to these in love. He disregarded what Yahweh had told him. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. That tells me a lot right there. And his wives turned away his heart. And it came to be, when Shalomo was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other mighty ones, and his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his Elohim, as was the heart of his father David. And Shalomo went after Ashtoreth, the mighty one of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Thus Shalomo did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and did not follow Yahweh completely, like his father David. Then Shalomo built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. You know what they did? They sacrificed children, their children, to Molech. And I'm speaking of the Hebrew people. They also worshipped Molech and sacrificed their own children. Oh, Chavarim. Whew. That's hard to say and hard to think about. And so he did for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and slaughtered to their mighty ones. Therefore Yahweh was enraged with Shalomo, because his heart had turned away from Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this word, not to go after other mighty ones. But he did not guard what Yahweh had commanded. And Yahweh said to Shalomo, because you have done this, and have not guarded my covenant and my laws, which I have commanded you, I shall certainly tear the rain away from you, and give it to your servant. Only I do not do it in your days, for the sake of your father David. Out of the hand of your son I shall tear it. Only I shall not tear away all the rain, but give one tribe to your son, for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. And Yahweh raised up an adversary against Shalomo, Hadad the Edomite. He was the seed of the sovereign in Edom. As it came to be, when David was in Edom, this was when David was still alive, was in Edom, and Joab, the commander of the army, had gone up to bury the slain after he had smitten every male in Edom. Joab remained there with all Israel for 6 months until every male in Edom was cut off. That Hadad fled to go to Mizraim, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, while Hadad was still a little child. And they arose from Midian, and came to Paran, and took men with them from Paran, and came to Mizraim, to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mizraim, who gave him a house, and ordered food for him, and gave him land. And Hadad found much favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, so that he gave him as wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of the sovereigness Tachpenes. And the sister of Tachpenes bore him Genevath, his son, whom Tachpenes weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Genevath was in the house of Pharaoh among the sons of Pharaoh. And Hadad heard in Mizraim that David slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the commander of the army, was dead. And Hadad said to Pharaoh, "Let me go to my land." And Pharaoh said to him, "But what have you lacked with me, that you are now seeking to go to your own land?" And he said, "No." In other words, the way he was speaking, he meant, "I have not lacked anything, but please let me go to my own land." A little tickle in there. And Elohim raised up another adversary against him, Rezon. It sounds like raisin, doesn't it? Rezon, son of Eliada, who had fled from his master Hadadezer, sovereign of Sovah, and slaughtered men, and gathered men to him, and became commander over a raiding band when David slew those of Sovah. And they went to Damascus and dwelt there, and reigned in Damascus. And he was an adversary of Israel all the days of Shalom, besides the trouble that Hadad caused, and he was hostile to Israel, and reigned over Aram. And his servant of Shalom, Yarovam, son of Nevat, an Ephraimite from Seradah, whose mother's name was Seruah, a widow, also lifted up a hand against the sovereign. And this is what caused him to lift up a hand against the sovereign. Shalom had built Millo, repairing the breaks in the city of David his father. And the man Yarovam was a brave man. And Shalom, seeing that the young man was doing his work well, made him officer over all the compulsory labor of the house of Joseph. And it came to be at that time, when Yarovam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahiah the Shilonite met him on the way, and he was wearing a new garment, and the two were alone in the field. And Ahiah took hold of the new garment that was on him, and tore it into 12 pieces, and said to Yarovam, "Take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus said Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, See, I am tearing the rein out of the hand of Shalom, and shall give 10 tribes to you, but he shall have 1 tribe for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, to put his name there." Excuse me. "Because they have forsaken me, and bow themselves to Ashtoreth, the mighty one of the Sidonians, to Chemosh, the mighty one of the Moabites, and to Milcom, the mighty one of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do what is right in my eyes, and my laws, and my right rulings, as did his father David. But I do not take all the reign out of his hand, because I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose because he guarded my commands and my laws. And I shall take the reign out of his son's hand, and give it to you, the 10 tribes. And to his son I give one tribe, so that my servant David shall always have a lamp before me, and Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen for myself, to put my name there. So I take you, and you shall reign over all that your being desires, and you shall be sovereign over Israel. And it shall be, if you obey all that I command you, and shall walk in my ways, and do what is right in my eyes, to guard my laws, my loving instructions, and my commands, as my servant David did, then I shall be with you and build for you a steadfast house, as I built for David, and shall give Israel to you. Yahweh is just searching for a man that will keep his word, that will keep his Torah, that will keep his loving instructions. And that's all he wants today. Now, you don't have to be a king or a queen, but you can please Yahweh yourself in whatever situation you're in if you just are willing to keep his loving instructions. All of them. It's not hard to keep them all. If you don't live according to your flesh, but you live according to the Ruach of Yahweh, our Elohim. And because of this, I humble the seed of David, but not forever. And Shalom sought to kill Yarovam, but Yarovam rose up and fled to Mitzrayim, to Shishag, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and was in Mitzrayim until the death of Shalom. And the rest of the acts of Shalom, all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Shalom? And the days that Shalom reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. So Shalom slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehavam his son reigned in his place. Oh, Chavarim. Now I'll just tell you, I was in prayer before Abba, Father, Yahweh. And I said to Father, how can it be that he knew your word and he had heard from you himself? How can it be that you gave him so much wisdom and you simply told him to not follow other gods? But he did. How could he do that? And then I realized I was the pot calling the kettle black. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of our Father Yahweh. And if you live another day, you're going to sin probably another day. So, Ken, get off your high horse. You're not without sin. How can you point the finger at Shalom? You're pointing 3 back toward you. And that's the way we have to look at it. That is just a simple truth. And anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the reading. Time is, wow, 8:01. Okay, it's just right on time, huh? I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I love you all very much. And praise Yahweh. Continue serving Abba, Father Yahweh, our Elohim, till the very end. Time's getting short. Yeshua is coming back soon. I can feel it. It doesn't seem like it could go much longer than it has gone already. So I'm looking forward, and I look forward to the day that I will also be with each and every one of you. If I can see some of you here on this earth before we go, that would be great. But if I don't see any of you here, I'll see you there. Praise Abba, Father Yahweh. Blossom, love you too, sister. Appreciate you. Tootie and Ahav, Brother Ken, says Cherie. Ahav and Shalom to you also, Cherie. Oh, bless each and every one of you. Baruch, each and every one of you. Barak, each and every one of you. Yes, Michael Stroud, I'm very thankful that Yahweh has given me the opportunity to read this word and his word, because his word is the one thing that gives life. His word and believing his word. It grows in us, waters us, completes us, washes us, and makes us clean before Yahweh. So remember to stay pitching your tents with Yahweh day by day and be washed by and grow in the water of his word. Shalom Chavarim. And now, who's coming our way? It's another old man, but I like this old man better than the one that you saw at the beginning. Shalom, each and every one.
I sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahweh is a man of battle, Yahweh is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath. It consumed them like stubble, and with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you? Oh, Yahweh, among the mighty ones. Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders. You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled. Anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuwah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuwah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuwah reigns forever and ever.